So today our two speakers are Julie Fitzpatrick and Jen Swaner. Julie Fitzpatrick is the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. Julie has been with PDC since 2005 and was appointed as the Executive Director in 2019. She has a Master's of Science in Community and Regional Planning, a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Art History and Anthropology from Temple, and has completed coursework in their landscaping architecture program. She attributes her focus of people-centered service and the importance of building relationships to 18 years of small business management at a locally owned independent downtown pharmacy. Her previous nonprofit experience includes volunteering at the Mulberry Art Studio, WITF Public TV and Radio, that's pretty cool, the Historic Preservation Trust of Lancaster, and the Susquehanna Waldorf School. There's more. She served on the board of the Susquehanna Sustainable Business Network and for more than 6 years, and she serves at her local community by volunteering for the Marietta Restoration Associates, and she resides in a 220-year-old home. Is that correct? That's crazy.
Underground Railroad too, which is really cool.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Along the Susquehanna River in Lancaster. So you're basically our neighbor. And she enjoys the trail and small town charm of Marietta. Same, love Marietta. And so we'll have Julie come up in a moment. Our next speaker, I'll just do her quick intro now, is Jen Swaner. I'm sure we all know Jen. Jen grew up in a military family and lived in numerous U.S. states and Europe. She established roots in York County with her husband in 1997. She's now a mom of 3 adult children and 1 very special granddaughter. And she spends her time running her business, Curious Little Playhouse, she spends her time running her business and helping other local entrepreneurs find their way as well. Her background is in marketing, and she uses her mom skills in the development of the Curious Little Playhouse. Jen is passionate about children having the opportunity to use their imagination, logging off electronics, and tapping into the vital part of their imagination is important. Jen says that children use their imagination to become better problem solvers. After all, what does the world need more of? Better future problem solvers. True that. So thank you both for being with us. Julie, you can go ahead and come on up.
Thank you. Okay, sound okay? All right. Alrighty, so I'm going to just kind of stand at the edge here, just so I'm looking at the slides when you're looking at the slides. I just want to share a little bit of the 2 slides that are on the title here. I had a fantastic opportunity to visit Prague over Thanksgiving, right before the pandemic, in November 2019, and went with friends to Prague and to Dresden to visit specifically the outdoor Christmas markets, not having any idea that a couple months later we'd be looking at the same kind of philosophies and methodologies to expand retail in our communities and in our downtown. So these are actually photographs of these igloos that were created in this outdoor market in downtown Prague. One of the markets was created right by a public park, kind of in a vacant lot, where it was almost like permanent food trucks that kind of were situated, and they had common seating areas, and it was freezing. Let me tell you, we were wearing long underwear, 2 pairs of socks, probably 3 or 4 layers of sweaters and coats and scarves, but people were out. They were drinking, they were eating, they were hanging out. The cold did not bother them. There were a couple of heaters hanging around. You could rent out these igloos for like private dining, and it was really fun. We got to do that the one evening. The other one of these outdoor markets was actually under a highway overpass in an area that we would typically think of as being totally underutilized. It might be in Harrisburg. It's actually where a number of our homeless population live during certain parts of the year. But they decided to take that space and give it a new life. And so I wanted to add these photographs just for you to start thinking about new and creative and different ways to look at providing opportunities to bring more customers into our businesses and into our communities as well. And also not letting the temperature, whether it's too hot or too cold, too rainy, too windy, really stop that. Because I think if people want to come out, they'll be there. The same thing for parking. In many cases, parking is often a perception issue, or it's more of an education or awareness, or a management problem. It's usually not a capacity issue when we start looking at it. So it's if you typically people don't come to your downtown to visit the parking garage. They visit your businesses. They visit the market. They want to go and have a beer, have a drink somewhere, have a great meal. And so we're creating ways to bring more people into our businesses and into our communities as well. We can go to the next one. Just to share a little bit about the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, we are a statewide nonprofit organization, and we do have a board member in our midst. Silas Chamberlain is one of our board members. Our board members represent different businesses, different geographies, different schools of thought from throughout Pennsylvania. Our main focus is around the Main Street program. So we partner with the Department of Community and Economic Development to provide education and technical assistance with downtown managers, and also with boards and committees that are following the Main Street approach to downtown and community business district revitalization. Then we also oversee the Elm Street program, which is about neighborhood revitalization, and you guys have had an Elm Street program in the past, as well as a Main Street program here in New York. And then we're partners with the national organization. The National Main Street Center came out of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, so much of the work we do is really rooted in downtowns, authentic, historic communities. So we can work in cities, we can work in boroughs. I usually say we work in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and everywhere in between. We also have a great conference. So I will give a plug to the conference too. We just had it, and we'll have it again. It will be in Harrisburg at the end of June. So it would be something that we often have business owners, board members, committee members, other downtown stakeholders, neighborhood stakeholders attend the conference. So we'll make sure that you get information for that as we get closer to that date. So some of the things I'm going to be talking about this afternoon are really opportunities to cross that threshold, to bring people into the businesses. Usually our Main Street or revitalization organizations are about bringing more people downtown. They're about bringing more people maybe along a street fair or for a First Friday or something like that. But as business owners, we really need to think about ways then to bring and capitalize those people and bring them into our businesses, to have them cross that threshold. That can often be the biggest barrier, really. So I know you guys do some great events, First Fridays. There's some other communities that will do open houses and have it be kind of thematic. It may be on a Sunday afternoon, kind of like you often see realtors have open houses with cookies and cider and that sort of thing. And you could do lots of different things, and you could have businesses kind of partner for those activities. Also, think about ways that you could capitalize on different types of tours, whether it's certain groups coming from outside the area. There's a lot of bus tours that are still functioning, and it could be something too that would be like a team building exercise with some of your larger corporations that are either inside or outside the city, and ways to bring them down and have an experience. We've done certain things as part of our conference where we've done progressive events where we're going to go from business to business or restaurant to restaurant for your appetizer, a salad, a dinner, a dessert, a drink. Maybe you're in breakout sessions and then you all come together at the end. So you could do the same sort of thing with a retail experience or a scavenger hunt or anything that's really fun and creative to bring families downtown. But when you're doing that, just think about when those people are available. When they already have activities, maybe it's soccer on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon, that might not be the best time. But maybe on a Sunday afternoon or a Friday evening before it gets too late. So we want to also be thinking about the users too. And then certainly in New York, you have lots of opportunities for cross-cultural events and activities. I would say, the things that bring people together are food and music, and ways that we can really blend our different cultures, our different ethnicities, our different perspectives, and just really kind of relate as humans. And I live in Marietta, but I relate and often am in downtown Lancaster. Downtown Lancaster has, for many years, been almost like that unofficial sanctuary city. We've had many refugees and immigrants into our cities. In my school district, I grew up in a small town in central Lancaster County in Manheim. Very white, very rural, a lot of farmers, but we had a tremendous influence of families from Southeast Asia, and it just really enhanced our experience too, growing up. So ways, again, that we can cross those boundaries and those borders and bring us all together can be really important. I want to just throw out kind of a conceptual piece as we're talking about some practical things too. And as we were talking about this session, I asked if we had a sense of who has kind of these different components within your business model. So when we're looking at e-commerce and any kind of e-marketing or kind of an e-business perspective, it's different ways that we can engage with the community, with our potential customers, maybe even with our fellow businesses for kind of business to business opportunities. Get the next one. So e-business is really thinking of ways where it's about communication, right? It's having that basic premise or that basic presence on the internet. I think, the COVID certainly brought that to light, where we would be going and looking for who delivers, what restaurants deliver, what grocery stores deliver, what businesses have any kind of presence when we Google it. And if your business isn't coming up on that first page, we need to think about ways to really get you better search engine optimization so that you get up there to the top of the list. If you're not coming up at all, that's another issue too. So if you don't have even a Facebook page or some sort of Instagram or Twitter or any kind of online presence, we really need to think about starting somewhere and then building from there. Any kind of online banking kind of falls under this, order fulfillment. So it's pretty general from like that e-business perspective. Go to the next one. The e-marketing is really also a way to promote our businesses, but it's also for us to be engaging our customers. So it's a way to grow our customer base. It's a way to communicate with our customers. It's also could be a way to give our existing clientele and our existing customers certain incentives that new customers might not have, so they get a sneak peek on a special sale or new inventory before the general public. Maybe it's like a private event or some sort of showcase. So it's really that way to, I would say more than anything, it's about building relationships, either strengthening relationships or making sure that the customers you do have are repeat customers within your own business. And then the e-commerce piece is really about the sales. How many of you with the businesses that you're representing have some way that folks can either purchase a product or a service on your online, let's say? Let's not say just website, but online. Okay. And what kinds of businesses do you have?
I have the Dark Parlor up in Royal Square, so anything from antiques and vintage items up to collectibles and giftware.
Great. And then do you have do you kind of do the order fulfillments in-house? Will you actually pack things up and mail it out, or do people come and pick it up?
Yes, we
Both?
offer curbside, in-house pickups, and then we ship worldwide.
Okay, great. And how about the other two?
Art gallery, and we do the shipping ourselves as well.
Okay, excellent. All right. And
I have Bath and Body, and I ship as well, in school pickup.
okay. And you guys do all of that from your primary location? Okay, all right. And your business?
So we provide guided tours of craft beer at the scene here in North County. So all of our ticketing platforms are online.
Okay.
But then we also have merchandise, gift certificates, things of that nature.
And are those actual physical tickets or physical gift certificates, or are they electronic? Where it's okay.
That's right. And then we also have merchandise as well.
Okay. And you will mail that out too? Okay, great. How many of you have more of the e-marketing, where you've got some sort of email list, you've got your maybe an affiliate program, or folks that get special offers or special incentives via some sort of email or text or special blog? The four of you guys, okay. You do, and what does that look like then? Is it an email, a text?
For me, is email, yeah.
Okay.
Right now, I'm doing email marketing.
Okay.
I'm collecting emails from my website and then sending out, specials and some onboarding with current members and things like that.
Okay, great. And
shop at Market Yards building, which is our gallery at the
Mhm.
college, and we're sort of developing it. We have an email list and social media. We haven't done any like promotions or sales.
So do you have any way then, once you send that communication out, to know whether or not those folks are coming back, that they are repeat customers, or is there any kind of incentive for them, like a referral program or any way for them to help build your clientele? Does anybody have a way to measure that or get a sense of?
We'll often use some kind of code
Okay.
along with it, if 10% off, use code whatever, where it's coming from. We use programs like MailChimp to keep track of for us who's clicking through.
Anybody have like a refer a friend, like a, where they get 20% off if you refer someone and that person gets 20% off or something like that? Okay. I'm starting to see a lot more, especially a lot more online companies, particularly since COVID, because everybody's purchasing things online and that sort of thing. But that is a way too to continually build, with that clientele, to build it out and build it out and build it out. So you might want to just think about some sort of like referral incentive, whether it's, a special event where you get to thank the folks who are, helping you truly grow your business, or some sort of like financial incentive too. We can go to the next slide. Okay. So, we kind of asked a bunch of these questions, but I think, one of the questions that we do want to talk about is, do you feel like you personally have the skills that you need to do this? Or do you feel like, I should say, do you have the skills? And the second question is, do you have the time? Right? So who feels like you have the skills? Okay. Who feels like they have the time? Right. So are there incentives or programs that either Downtown Inc. could offer, or partnerships with the variety of colleges that you have here, to work with students and interns and, folks, marketing companies often, will even provide some incentive services just to kind of get out in the community and work with different companies to get their name known. We've worked with a number of marketing companies in different towns and different cities where they'll basically donate a certain amount of hours, to the Main Street program or maybe to specific businesses. You could even create a bit of a competition to offer that. What about, I know you guys will talk about some of the services that you offer from the Downtown Inc. perspective, but really think about that. I mean, we realize that it does take time, and I was just actually last night reading this new guide that's coming out, and I'm not endorsing this specifically, but it is someone who we've worked with a little bit. The company's called Locable. I'll refer to them in a few minutes. But they are coming out with a new guide that is really acknowledging the fact that most small business owners often don't have the skills and often don't have the time to do that. So they're actually providing this guide, and it's like 15-minute increments, kind of like those few short moments when maybe nobody's in the store, and it's like when you're gonna either sweep up out front or tidy up the shelves or check some email, things that you could do in these really manageable bites of time. So it is something that I'd encourage you to take a look at, but I'm not like formally endorsing them. But I think it is that kind of understanding that we have to realize that none of us have an entire day or even an entire afternoon where we can donate and dedicate to that marketing. And in many cases, we don't have the means to hire someone to do that either. So thinking about how this can be manageable is going to be really important. So I think we talked a little bit about this, but the elements of e-commerce, there's usually some sort of product or service. Usually there's some place to sell it. So it may be a certain portal. It may be a portal that you share with others. I know we've been looking at creating some sort of statewide online like Main Street marketplace where different cities or towns would have almost like your own page, and then businesses within that city or town would have a presence there, and you would have that support. It's something if you guys are interested in, we can start talking about that. There's some startup fees. It's actually out of a company from Erie that was a project from the Ben Franklin Partnership. They're doing it right now in the PA Wilds with all the different businesses that are in kind of the Northeast corridor, and they are really basing that off of a lot of like a maker sort of economy. So a lot of local craft craftspeople. But I think it could easily be done from a retail perspective and a service perspective as well. But part of the issue is, how are we getting people to our sites? How do we get our, customers to know about us? And that really is where the challenge is. And I think, again, if we look at creative ways to build off our warm market, ways that, we all have customers, but are our customers kind of keeping the information to themselves, or are they sharing it? Are they helping to build and expand our consumer base? And that's really something that, we need to continue to look at. So some other pieces of e-commerce, I think you guys, know about this, but it's just, a good reminder that you do need to have ways to accept money. Also credit card payments, I think, that's another thing that I've been thinking about since COVID. I can't imagine not having a credit card and not having a smartphone during COVID. And there's a lot of people in this world who don't have either. But, I couldn't have done half of my purchasing or half of my grocery shopping had I not had those two tools. But we do need to think about ways, if we're a business right now that doesn't take credit cards, I would encourage you to start to look at being able to do that, whether you work with PNC or another financial partner in the community. But it's something that we, again, if you're not doing it, we need to be thinking about that for the future. And I don't want to just assume that you are already doing that. Also, from a security perspective, I know there's been, again, a lot of stories of different accounts, different huge accounts being hacked, but creating that secure page. And then also just thinking about, traditional ways of invoicing. And, I still get bills from my roofer that are mailed to me and that sort of thing. And I know, especially if we're doing like business to business purchasing, making sure that maybe we have accounts that we offer to some of our partners. So just some different things. There's been a big story on returns to Amazon and different companies and how they're trashed. I think we need to think about ways that we can be more sustainable, whether it's being able to donate things or recycle in that capacity. Thinking about a fulfillment facility, and this is something that we've been talking about for years, particularly as your businesses kind of expand and take on more online ordering and more online fulfillment, does it make sense to have like a center? Actually, let's say a building that would be a shipping facility, and maybe, it could be a training facility, and some sort of workforce development component could be added to it, where you would actually do the fulfillment for all the different businesses within downtown. So just something to think about as you're kind of growing and expanding, and ways to partner, ways to share services or even employees as your businesses grow for fulfillment. Warranties, again, that might just depend on the types of businesses that you have. And then also making sure that you have opportunities for that two-way communication. So you have a way to communicate out to your customers, but do your customers have a way to communicate to you? Is there, a form that they fill out? So many times, I can't tell you, I have a difficult time actually knowing where a business is located nowadays. And we were just talking over the last couple of days about businesses like ghost kitchens that exist kind of out of back rooms or commercial kitchens that don't really have that presence. But there's a certain amount of credibility, I think, that, when we know that we can actually go to a business or we can meet the owner, and, there's that physical, tangible piece. So is your address? Do you have a phone number? I mean, simple things like that. Do you have an email? A lot of times you'll go to a site and it'll be a contact form, but you can't actually connect directly to someone. I was at a Sheetz the other day and had some things happen, and I was like, I want to report this, and it was really difficult. And Sheetz is a large corporation, so I had to go through all these different steps just to report what happened. But how can we make it easier? How can we actually make that an enjoyable experience for people and a way to engage them, and again, to continue to build that relationship, because this is what we're doing. We're working to build initial relationships and continue to expand on that relationship. So the easy pieces, in many cases, creating the website or your social media platforms, taking the different orders, accepting the payment. The hard part, in the next slide, is really, how do we get them to visit your website? And then once they visit, how do we get them to return? So thinking about all these things, because it really is about the psychology of it. How do you differentiate yourself from others that might be similar to you in the community? What are those services? What is that, little extra something that you can offer that no one else does. And honestly, again, out of COVID, we're learning so much. It really is about that relationship and that connection and continuing to build on that, knowing that you're reliable, that people can count on you. And that's what people are going to share with their friends and family, that great experience. Also, the fourth one, getting people to buy something, from your website. They might be searching, but they might, not necessarily purchase. So how do we kind of hook them and make sure that we capture that sale? And then the last piece too is really looking at ways, is there an opportunity to bring some more data into that component? Knowing who is your customer, where are they coming from, what is their age, what are some of the activities that they like to do? We are able, Downtown Inc. is a member of the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, and so you're actually able to get some data reports from us that look at what we call psychographic data. And psychographic data is like a behavioral profile of the different customers, the different residents that you have here in the community. We can tell you how old they are, their education levels, what they like to do on the weekends, how they like to spend their disposable time, how they like to spend their disposable money. We can look specifically and do a psychographic profile of the trail users, and really build off of that as a tool so that we have a better understanding of our existing customers and then also our potential customers. And some of the things that we've already talked about, but really building that e-commerce platform, think about the suppliers that you're working with as well. Are they local? Are you able to build off of each other's businesses and support each other? In the room here, I'm sure that if there aren't existing opportunities, there are potential opportunities for you and business to business from within your businesses as well, rather than maybe buying from someone outside the city or outside the county. Other services, how do we compete with some of the larger companies? Can we offer free shipping? Can we offer free deliveries, that free pickup? Again, what is that kind of special something that we can do? And then I think, again, just making sure that we have really strong customer service. Some other things to think about, we talked a little bit about the affiliate programs, but could there be special discounts, special days for seniors, for students, seasonal things, different ways to just remind people of who you are, what you're doing, and what they can get from you or expect from you. We can go to the next one. So there are a couple different platforms. Does anybody use Shopify, sorry. That is one, and then we've got Nix. Do you guys have like specific platforms that you use, or do you do everything in-house? Okay. Very popular, yeah. Is everybody using that? Okay, yeah, so think about ways that you can support that, and there's another slide or two. Snap Retail is a company, they're out of Pittsburgh. They actually offer kind of all these different options. They can help you from a kind of the marketing or communications perspective. They can help you with the e-commerce perspective and everything in between and the fulfillment. The next one is Locable, which I did mention. They, again, can really help with the business support, the marketing, the communications, and then a limited amount of like fulfillment if that's something you want to look at. But I think just familiarizing yourself with businesses like this, not that you would become a member or subscribe to their services, but I think it's interesting to see what they offer and then compare that against what you already do and see if maybe you could actually just learn from what they're already offering and see if it could be a nice match to kind of expand the services that you have. I just wanted to share a little bit about a campaign that we've had through the Downtown Center, and any downtown that's a member of our network can participate in this. This was something that came out of COVID. It's called No Place Like Local. And so we've been having a campaign every month, and communities can kind of tap into that. We have a bunch of materials out there if you guys would like to grab some of the stickers. There's clings as well. And you can go to the next one. So like what we did for the holidays, the See You Here was actually like a sticker or a stencil that you could put down on the sidewalk or on the floor for social distancing. So a bunch of different stickers. We had tags, social media components, and then, the last one too was like a badge for social distancing as well. So we've been doing this throughout for the holidays. There's a bunch of assets that you can access on our website for the social media component, just to again remind people, because the buy local, the Small Business Saturday, we're trying this out kind of from a statewide perspective to see if it sticks. The See You Here was something that we were looking at specifically for like during COVID, when people maybe weren't in their downtowns, but we were looking forward to the time when they would be back. So just another couple pieces and a couple different designs for the holidays. These were the gift tags that you could print offline. Again, the cling, and then we were offering some things at different seasons. I think the next. So even there, like the See You Here was more related to staying safe and social distancing, go the distance for our community. Again, another marker. So every month over the course of the last, 10 or 12 months, we've been offering this campaign where if you, let's say in March, you buy something for $30 and it's green and you post it and use the hashtags, you get entered into a competition to win a gift card at in your favorite downtown. So this is something we've had a number of our communities participate in, and again, every month it's a different theme. So it's something that you guys could either create your own, or you could tap into what we're doing at the state level with the other communities throughout the Commonwealth as well. So we had some Facebook page postings, we did some Instagram postings, and this is what some of the other communities did, or the businesses who were participating in the downtown were participating as well. So it kind of hit on a bunch of different things. We were trying to again grow the larger campaign of No Place Like Local at the state level. We were trying to draw some awareness just to Main Street. But more than anything, we were trying to bring, and still trying to bring, more attention to our downtowns and get people in the businesses to spend more money in their local communities and in their local businesses. So there's a way, when this works right, where we could actually show an economic impact of campaigns like this and what kind of positive influence it has as far as how it can grow our purchasing and our spending in downtowns. So I would say we're still kind of in that beta mode, but we're still doing it, and we're going to continue to do it. So I would encourage you, if you guys are interested, to participate in this, particularly as we're moving into the holidays. And I think it's also a nice connection to other campaigns that you might be part of, either locally or with like Small Business Saturday. I don't think it competes with any of that. It's a nice complement. So I would be remiss if I did not mention the possibility that you guys have in this community and in this county for your Trail Town users as customers. And I think you would probably, I'd hear about it later if I didn't mention something. But so, and it's more than just providing a bike rack. So the question is, do you want trail users to be your potential customers? And I don't know. Some of you, if we're just asking that question, how many of you think that the trail users would be a good potential customer? Interesting. How many of you believe that you currently have folks who are using the trail who come into your business? Okay. So I would encourage you to really think about this and to be prepared. I always love to show this because those are different bike racks that are fun. I love the one that tells you that it's a bike rack. But again, just some different ideas. The one doesn't show up quite well, but it's a bunch of like old rusty bikes that have been welded together on the right. So I would encourage you that if you don't have a bike rack in front of your building now or near your building within your block, I think this is a great time to be starting to think about that. And I do live in Marietta. We didn't always have bike racks, but thinking about ways that we're doing it, we now currently have bike racks on every other meter in our tiny, but mighty is what I call it, downtown, but also in front of some of our key businesses. We have bike racks in front of the Railroad House Restaurant and Perry Street Cellar Bar. We have bike racks in front of McCleary's Pub. We have bike racks, and we have a Molly's Courtyard Cafe, which we love. She's done a beautiful job of a really neat, kind of fun industrial bike rack. And then thinking about restrooms. We need to think about facilities, whether they're publicly owned or privately owned. In Germany, it was right before COVID, they had passed a tax. And I guess it was a tax incentive for businesses that opened up their restrooms to the public. They actually got like a tax break, and I thought that was, yes, it's maybe increased liability, but it was a great way to really be open to the fact that, especially if you're dealing with young families and children, we need to have more publicly accessible restrooms. The other piece on the right is it's a bike repair kit or bike repair station where you can get air. There's Allen wrenches. There's you can pop your tire off. There's a bunch of different tools if you need them for your bike. So again, some amenities. So we do want to think about how you can attract these customers. But the question is, do you think you really want them? And do you want them? So if you go to the next one. We took part in an economic impact study in a number of communities over the course of the last year. One was a Quakertown, and then the next one is Connellsville along the Great Allegheny Passage. In Quakertown, they're near Lake Nakamixon, but they're not adjacent to it. There's a couple miles between. But they started to realize and started to measure that the lake has 1.2 million visitors a year, and this was pre-COVID. And they started to think about ways that they could bring some of those users through their downtown and have them stop on their way to the lake or on their way back. And just from a realistic perspective, if only half of those visitors bought a coffee and a muffin, maybe only spent like $10, they could generate over $780,000 every year to their local restaurants, cafes, and coffee shops. So, a little more than $750,000 million. If one of four, so again, only 25% would buy like a t-shirt or a few books, maybe stop by and get it, buy an antique, and only spend $25, the impact there is almost $2 million a year, and it equates to about $8,000 a month for those businesses. And think about what an extra $8,000 a month could mean for your own business. So the impact, the possibility, and the potential is definitely there in bringing these users into your downtown and into your businesses. In Connellsville, it is along the Great Allegheny Passage, and they have, I think it's 35, the next one, 35,000 trail users pass by the city of Connellsville annually. If we were to capture, and I think we're using only 10% of those users, and they would spend $15 on lunch, it would generate over $52,000 in sales at those different restaurants every year. So the potential that exists for your trail users, yes, you may have trail users who are local, but they still need to eat. They still need to, buy an anniversary gift. They still need to, buy holiday gifts. They still need to, think about maybe a special treat on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. So I just want you to really think about the potential that they have, whether it's, and I will say, being in Marietta and working from home, although we double the population of our town on weekends with trail users, there's a lot of people using that trail Monday through Friday. And even 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. There's a lot of people working from home that have flexibility. There's a lot of people who are retired who use that trail. So this is no longer just a Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon sort of event, but really thinking about the trail as an economic generator every day of the week and pretty much from morning till night. So I think, I just want to kind of close with that. And I think there might just be one or two. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you.
Switching out my mask for my glasses.
All right. Thank you, Julie. So, the human brain starts working at birth and never stops until you stand up to speak in public. So here I am with my notes. I'd like to tell you guys how I became a business owner. I used to be a banker, but I kept losing interest. After that, I interviewed for a really good job. They told me after 6 months there would be a $2,500 per month increase. I told them I would start then. That didn't work out. So in 2019, I started my business with nothing. I still have most of it. But here I am 2.5 years later, one pandemic later, and I'm still planning for my biggest holiday season yet. So I'm pretty excited. So I wanted to share a few things with you that I've learned from my mentors. There's some phenomenal retailers out there here, in downtown York. And I've scooped up numerous friends and mentors, and I've certainly retained some really great advice. Some things that I'll share with you. Holiday shopping for me, for my business, it starts in January. I literally pinpoint items that are holiday related, and things that I can get at a really deep discount right after Christmas and other holidays. I'm purchasing in bulk and sitting on them for the following year. Now, mind you, I've only been in business for 2.5 years. This will be my third holiday season, but that's something that I've learned so far and is definitely working. I also start planning my budget for merchandise that I'm purchasing for that following holiday season. I'm planning that in January. You hear the saying, you got to make hay while the sun's shining. For me, right after the holidays, that's when I get my biggest boost of revenue. I actually put a little of that aside to be able to purchase for that following year. I also take from my second quarter of the year to add to my budget for what I'm going to spend over the holidays, because my third quarter is my slowest time of year, so that would be sort of a double whammy to try to pay for all of the holiday retail expenses that I have. So it's really coming from the end of the fourth quarter and my second quarter. I have a couple of pointers on how to deal with lack of availability of merchandise, which I know that's sort of the current temperature out there right now. Things are getting a little scarce and hard to get your hands on some merchandise. As a consumer, I've noticed that, but I've also definitely noticed that as a business owner as well. There are things that, items that are popular through some of my toy vendors, and they're telling me, I'm sorry, we just can't get them to you. We don't know when we can get them to you. So I'm looking for alternatives. One of the things that I have done a good pivot with is reaching out to local makers and artists. There's one, a local mom that makes a homemade Play-Doh. It's called, oh gosh, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Anyway, she makes a homemade organic Play-Doh and does some really great products. So I've partnered with her to Tiny Moose. That's the name of the Play-Doh. It's not called Play-Doh, but it's like Play-Doh, but better. So just as an example, I've reached out to some local makers that we can benefit from a good business relationship, and then I'm also offering something that's made local. I definitely try to fill as many of the hot items of the season as possible. Again, with some of my toy vendors that I deal with now, some of those items are simply just not available. They're telling me we might be able to get them to you in February. Well, it doesn't really do me any good for the holidays. So I'm not committing to those, big invoices. I've also joined some Facebook groups with other toy store owners, and there is a phenomenal amount of groups out there for just about anything that you could think of. But I belong to a few groups of toy store owners And we have actually shared some items where maybe one item is not selling well in a toy store in Pittsburgh, and I have an item that I've been, I have a lot of, and I've been sitting on it for 6 months, and it's just not moving, and we've actually swapped products. So that's been super helpful. I also try to carry some items that the big box stores don't sell. One of the really wonderful things I love about Melissa and Doug, who is really my biggest toy vendor, they have items that they will not sell to big box stores that they hold back just for small retailers. And for me, I think that sort of seals the deal for my relationship with them, that they get it. So that's really cool that I can offer items to people and I can literally say, you're not going to find this at Walmart or Target or Amazon. As a matter of fact, one of my coin speeches that I do share with customers that come in my front door is, not only are you not going to find these items at a Walmart or Amazon, you're also not going to be able to walk in the front door and speak to the owner. So that's something that I try to put in the minds of my customers and potential customers, because it's a little perk that shopping local that you won't have at Walmart or Amazon. Have your gift cards ready to go, whether it be online or your tangible gift cards. I made the mistake in year one not having gift cards ready, and then people started asking for them, and I was scrambling going, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of this? Rookie move for sure, but have your gift cards ready. Also offer deep discounts on something that will keep customers coming back throughout the year. If anybody knows anything about the Curious Little Playhouse, we're a hands-on kids play space and toy store and birthday party venue and host to unicorn rides. So, right now I put out a special that you can do a 12-month membership at a really deep discount. One of the things that I have found with getting people to come back with their memberships, because I have a toy store, if somebody's walking in the door and using their membership card to come in and play with the kiddos, they're not actually spending any money the day that they're coming in the store throughout their membership period. And what I have found is parents are willing to spend a couple bucks on toys during their visit, because in their mind they've already paid the bill. They're not thinking about that they've paid the bill anymore, because they're not shelling money out for admission, so they're spending a little money on toys. I don't know that there's a whole lot of businesses similar to that here in this room, but a piece of advice I figured I would share anyhow. Definitely make sure to have your hero products, which is your high sell-through items and your high demand items. Every industry has a hero product, so make sure you know what yours is. Right now, mine are these goofy little rubber pop-em fidget, like the little poppy fidget things. They're ridiculous. They're ridiculously expensive, and people love them. And I can't believe that people are spending $8 on these little fidget toys. But they are. I go through a lot of them. Have your social media ready to go. I've been planning my social media for the holidays since probably July. And I do contract somebody to help me with my social media, and we've been working on the holiday campaigns for a couple months now, and I'm excited to finally start pulling the trigger on some of those. Also, you want to make sure that you're able to make your storefront magical. If anybody has been by the Curious Little Playhouse there on the first block of West Market, I do have my oversized chair. It's a little obnoxious, but the kids love it. Really, to be honest, I've seen grown-ups love it just as much. People that come and sit in the chair and take pictures that don't even have kids, but you know, they're enjoying it either way. Not that the big chair is necessarily magical, but it's a little bit of a novelty, and that was a way for me to share a little bit of wow factor, and still contribute to the positive brand in downtown York, and contribute something that would be memorable. So I only have one other thing that I want to leave you with, and that would be my best advice, which is whatever you do, give 100%, unless you're giving blood. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you both so much. Very helpful, 2 different perspectives. I think we definitely all appreciate both of your messages there.